Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 4 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and once again, we are coming to you from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services and looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Amy Spencer with us, who is the Executive Director of the Gaston County Education Foundation. Amy, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And yes, just like some of the other podcasts, full disclosure, I have known Amy for a few years. We won't go into exactly how long, but both Amy and Marsh. So again, it's great to have you. So we're going to get right to the questions and kind of eventually get through why the Education Foundation is such a great organization here in our county. So if you don't mind, can you just start a little bit and just tell us a little bit about yourself, Amy?
Well, I am kind of originally from Gastonia. When I was 7 years old, we were relocated here and we landed in Gastonia, and I think we were laughing before this, in the country. So we grew up on well water and no stoplights, but now that's like a very heavy area. And we ran wild through those. There were fields everywhere.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We loved it. I have been married to Marsh Spencer for 23 years this year. Hard to believe. And we have 3 children.
Good for him.
Good for me, right?
Maybe.
True. Davis is our oldest. He's 19. He's a sophomore at Alabama. Ben is our 10th grader. And then Riley is our 3rd, and he is a 7th grader, and he is a pistol. I attended the University of Georgia, and go Dogs, where I studied health promotion and marketing, and really thought I was going to be a health educator in the public health scenario, but ended up enjoying sales more so and moved on to that. I did graduate from Gaston County Schools. I'm a Green Wave, a 1990 Green Wave. And if I'm not working, I love to exercise and to work in the yard. I love to work in the yard and plant things. In fact, I can clear an entire yard of Spencer boys by going outside. They hide because they're scared I'm going to be like, hey, go get me that shovel. So anyway, that's a little bit about myself.
Yes, I think actually you graduated with my wife. Actually,
I did graduate with Janet.
Yeah. So that's one of the longtime connections. So how did you end up at the Education Foundation?
So I sold pharmaceuticals for 11 years. And Marsh and I passed one day in the hall, and I said, I'm going here. And he said, I'm going here. I said, when are you coming back? And he said, I'll be back, Wednesday. And I said, well, I'm not coming until Thursday. And we have these 2 children. So we decided at that point I'd stay home. But my mother would always say to me, you're going back to work. I know you're not going to be able to do this forever. I stayed home with the boys. We had a 3rd child, and I just felt the itch to go back and work. And I wanted to go back and do something in the community in which we live. So at that time, the Community Foundation was hiring. Leanne Harris had departed, and the community-run position was part-time. So I interviewed with Ernest, and he said, the board may make this part-time. I said, I can't do part-time, but I can't do full-time. I'd love a part-time position. And they came back, he said, we're going full-time, but I'll keep my ears open. He happened to run into Natalie and Jenny Stoltz. Jenny had announced her resignation from that Gaston County Education Foundation, and they were looking for somebody to take her spot. So they called me in. I interviewed with her, with Jenny, Natalie Tyndall, Libby McCraw, and John Boyer. There may have been somebody else, and I cannot remember. Went through everything, and it was just a great fit. And I worked with Jenny for a year, and she showed me everything that she did. And so that is how I got there, and that was 5 years ago.
That goes by fast, doesn't it?
It was fast. And fun, though. And I didn't realize how much fun it was I was going to have, but I also didn't realize how much I enjoyed being in the schools and seeing what's going on and seeing what the teachers of Gaston County can do with even just the slightest little bit of money that we can provide them.
That's terrific. What can you tell us about the mission of the Education Foundation?
Our mission, the Education Foundation was established in 1992, and our mission has not ever changed. Our mission is to support underfunded programs and projects that enhance the educational opportunities for Gaston County Public Schools. But our ultimate goal is, and this is something that we have added over the last 3 years, we kind of changed up our bylaws. Things have changed since 1992. Clearly, I have a few more gray hairs. But is that we want to give, our ultimate goal is of providing a learning environment for the Gaston County Public Schools that is free from any financial limitations. If they have something they need, that they can come to us and we can figure out a way to go out into the community and see if the community can rally behind us and help, or if maybe we can fund it from a fund we have.
Okay. Yeah, I think I think most people would realize that the public school system often is underfunded on many of the initiatives that we're trying to accomplish. As you mentioned earlier, I'm also a product of the Gaston County Schools, and it was a great experience actually for me. But I know the foundation does a good job of enhancing that experience for the teachers and the students. So, to speak to that, can you talk about maybe some of the initiatives? I know there's one really big one, but kind of some of the initiatives that the foundation is involved with.
One of the initiatives that kind of historically, one of the initiatives we've done is there was the Highland School of Technology was the first major initiative that was taken in this county, and it was corporations and local businesses coming together to fund a unique school, Highland. And so that was the first major initiative this organization, I guess, backed in conjunction with Gaston County Schools, the Community Foundation. Ernest Sumner, interestingly enough, I give him a hard time, but I'm like, you're like the only person around still that helped do that. And he's like, stop. And I was like, so. But then the other thing we do is we do provide the funding for programs that are not funded in the yearly budget. Many times teachers will spend their own money to do something that they want to see will help teach students learn better. With us, by raising our funds, one of our initiatives is to keep them from spending the money in their personal pockets. Teachers don't make enough as it is. I think we're all aware of that after this year of homeschooling, and you can't pay a teacher enough I can't do what they do. So by giving them a little bit of help so they don't have to use their personal money, it definitely helps. We definitely want to meet not only the needs of the teachers, but the administration as well. We help fund the Teaching and Learning Conference keynote speaker every year, which kind of gets the teachers ready to go, and it gives them some CE hours and things like that. And then the other initiative we like, and I would love to see this happen, and one of the questions we talked about is what's going to happen in the future. I'd like to see us build another, rally the community to build another, something like Highland, a big initiative that would be able to do for all of the schools in Gaston County.
Right. Okay. Can you share with us maybe what you're most proud of? I know that might be a tough question to narrow it down to one thing, or maybe a couple of things that you're most proud of accomplishing since you've been at the foundation.
I think one of the things I'm most proud of, and it's come from the backing of my board, because I'm only as strong as my board, is that we've gone from being an organization that fulfilled grants, but we were pulling it from our coffers at the Community Foundation.
Okay.
Now we completely fund the grant cycle with everything we earned that year, and we've moved to reinvesting some of that money back into the fund so that we can see it exist when our grandchildren are here, and even we don't want it to go away because it serves as a great thing for Gaston County Schools to have and pull from when needed. The other thing that has been great that I've done, and I've done it with the help of various donors, is finishing the Webb Street School playground. That was, if you haven't been there, go see it. It's beautiful. That was so fulfilling, and I could not have done it without the community helping us with that. And I did not do that on my own. We just were able to find a final donor to help out with it.
Yeah, that's right across the street from our other, our
That's right.
older location here on Airline, so in May Street. So that's great. So as we kind of move on here, we're going to kind of cover this topic a little broader. But why is Gaston County better? Kind of in your own words, why is Gaston County better? Because the Education Foundation is here.
I think it's better because we offer support to Gaston County Schools. We work very closely with Dr. Booker and Dr. Balknight to find where the funding needs to go. we work together as a team, which makes it a lot stronger. It hasn't always been a close bond between the two of us, but over the last few years, we've developed, from what I gather, I should say, we've developed a bond where we make sure that what we're funding is something that Gaston County schools can support. I mean, we can't fund things that just go out there and they get zero support. So I think it's better. The foundation makes it better because we work together so closely with Gaston County schools to make sure that everything is very direct and beneficial to the students and the teachers.
That's a great point because, ultimately the school system knows what's needed and the teachers know what is needed, and sometimes outside entities may not know really where that money should go.
I think the first year we funded a robotics thing that had no support from Gaston County schools, and that was my first year. And Dr. Balknight said to me, I love the fact y'all are doing this, but we have no support, technical support for this. And I was like, well, that's a waste of money. So we worked with that. With the help of Dr. Balknight and Dr. Booker, we've been able to definitely build a stronger relationship and make our support that much more impactful in the school system.
All right, that's great. How do you envision the foundation looking like in 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years. Wow. You know how old we'll be then?
Let's not go there.
Probably in the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to build our fund at the Community Foundation to sustain this organization. I would like to continue to put a certain percentage away each year. Hopefully, building it at least up to $1.5 million in our fund. That would be my goal. That's a big one, but I would love to see it happen. I would also like to see, like I said earlier, another large project similar to the Highland School of Technology, where we partner with Gaston County schools as well as the community to make a big impact.
Yeah, I've seen enough in the last few years about Highland specifically. I mean, it's a shining star, not just in Gaston County, but gets a lot of even national recognition for what that school has accomplished. So another project like that could really help us transform the county even further.
And I think we are doing it. I think that the school system has done it at other schools with the school choice and things of that nature. I think we need to just figure out what would be the best way to use it.
So if you I'm gonna come back to that in a second, but if you weren't involved with the foundation, what do you think you would be doing?
Driving kids around all over the place.
Yeah.
Actually, I would be volunteering. I would probably be a mentor in the schools. I would probably, Marsh says I'm the busiest. Before I came to work here, I was the busiest volunteer he'd ever seen because I was volunteering on different things. I would be volunteering. I would probably substitute teach. I love to do that. I love to be with the kids.
I think there are needs for that. Maybe I'll tell Marsh, talk to Marsh about that. You need any more time, you need something else to do, you can.
I don't need anything else to do.
But I think my experience with organizations like the Gaston County Education Foundation, it takes people with that mindset to get things done. Whether you're an executive director like yourself or a volunteer, or if you just look around at all the things that are accomplished in Gaston County or any community for that matter, you got to have people with that mindset to get anything done.
Well, and that's the only way we're going to build a stronger community. It takes everybody.
So this next question kind of is there anything I should have asked but I haven't yet, but I'm going to have to ask about are you smarter than a fifth grader? That hasn't come up yet, and I have some selfish reason to bring that up, but can you I don't know how many years that's been going on now.
I think, best I can tell, I think we're up at like 14 years.
Okay, I know it had been a long time, long before you were the executive
and
director,
we did it this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it virtually this year because I think the highlight of my year was that we got to do Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I've had this year virtually. And it was challenging.
I'm
and
sure.
It took the volunteering of Erica Whitesides, one of the curriculum specialists, and Dr. Erin Slutsky at Gaston County Schools to pull it off because I'm no technical whiz. And Erica always helps me. She's great, but we had to pull a different component. But the feedback I've gotten from the schools was that the kids needed it and that they enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it was only 2 kids this year and not 20 kids.
Right.
It was a lot quieter. I didn't go home shell-shocked. But even the business partners, because no one has been able to do anything, they've at least been able to get out and enjoy a little bit of normalcy. Even though we were socially distanced and masked and everything, it was still fun. And I had a great time, but I did not go home this year shell-shocked like I normally do. But it's a fun evening where we're able to raise the majority of the funding for our grant cycle. And that's the most important thing, because that is how we fund the teachers.
Is that typically the largest fundraising that is accomplished each year by the foundation?
That is our major fundraiser.
That's what I thought.
And generally we raise about $50,000.
And just in GSM, I think we have been involved from the beginning. I'm not sure. I know we used to partner with the Grizzlies, and this past year I think we did it on our own. And just to get this in, a few years ago, GSM in Pleasant Ridge did win, and it's possible that I might have answered the winning question, but I'll leave that out there for history to decide. But
was it the Stormtrooper, or was it the or was it Darth Vader?
I was actually Kylo Ren. Actually,
I knew it was one of them,
because I distinctly remember afterwards that Jenny Stoltz telling me, you're not supposed to dress up like that on school property.
Right, you can't have your face covered.
That's right.
And actually, they were worried about you. I
do remember hearing that afterwards. But oh well.
They didn't stop you though.
I'll ask for one of the things. What do you say? You ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
That's right.
But you know what? That is a great event. And to your point, it has got to be one of the loudest things when it's in person that I do every year. I mean, it is really, to your point, it's not. It's shell shocked is a good way to describe it.
The first year I started it, they were like, "Here are the earplugs," and I was like, "Earplugs? Why do we need earplugs?" I mean, John Boyer was bringing them from A&E. We were getting them from all kinds of places. And that night, I invited Marsh to come. He stayed about 15 minutes, and he was like, "I can't do this."
Yeah, it's a unique event.
And I had Riley with me, and I was like, "Oh, you have to wear these. You're little. You're not going to be able to hear if we keep you in this." And at night, they laugh at me because I came home this year, and I was like, "Okay, so who wants dinner? All right, let's go." And they said, "You usually come in and you sit, and you're like, I just need to be left alone for just a few minutes."
It's like after going to a concert, and back when we used to have concerts. Maybe that's something else we'll get back to.
They're coming back
one of these days. So, is there anything else you'd like to share, kind of before we move on to some maybe different type of questions?
I'm going to give a little plug. If anybody wants to be a sponsor in Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It's an excellent way to build a business partnership with a local school. That's the main goal of this. Yes, it's to fundraise and everything, but the secondary effect is that you build a relationship with a school, and the schools always need a corporate sponsor.
Sure.
So I would love for anybody who wanted to take part in it. It is so much fun, and it's only one night. And your ears will recover, but the lasting effects that a lot of times are left on the children. Many of these children may not see someone from the business sector on a regular basis. It opens their eyes and lets them see, and it's an opportunity for you to reach out and do something with children, and maybe even form a mentoring program between you and the school.
That's really good. You're exactly right. I mean, we'd like to say that we are doing it for the right reasons, but you know what? We also get a lot of benefit from it, whether it's our team members getting to do something like that, or the connections that we do make with the schools and the individual school, along with the school system in general. So Amy, what advice would you give someone wanting to get involved with an organization like the Education Foundation?
Reach out to me. You can find me on Gaston County educationfoundation.org. I would love to talk to you about it. I could talk to you about Are You Smarter? I could talk to you about millions of ways to get involved.
Okay, and we'll be sure to put those contact information in the show notes when we're done, and we'll talk about that again before
Perfect.
We finish up. So, this is a podcast about Gaston County, so we do try to shift gears here during each one to kind of touch on some of the other reasons maybe why Gaston County is great. So we're going to get to the really serious and important stuff here in just a second. So I guess we're calling this the speed round of questions because I haven't come up with a better name for it. Maybe Amy or Elizabeth will come up with a better name for that one of these days. Because this is all I got. So first question, favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
I love black cherry.
Ooh.
I have since I was a little girl. My kids are like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What about, is milkshake or just a cup, or is it?
I like just a cone. Why are y'all looking at me?
Just because that awkward silence makes it sound like that was something wrong with that, but that's perfect. Now, I'm going to make an assumption here because of what you just said, but Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Sundrop.
Oh, wow. I thought black cherry might lead you to
Nope,
Cheerwine.
but I love
Okay.
a Sundrop slushie.
Favorite Eastern or Western North Carolina style barbecue?
I like Western.
Thank you.
I like Western. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Western guy too, but you know, some of these people around here say Eastern for some reason. I
I
mean,
wonder which ones.
we're officially in the Western side of the state as far as I'm concerned. So, favorite Shield Museum exhibit?
Okay, so I'm taking you back a long way. Do you remember the Wild West exhibit? It was probably 10 years ago, and they had the buffalo there.
Yes, I do remember that.
I
You
think
said
we-
buffalo. Yes.
I think we visited that exhibit weekly one summer. I think we may have hit it like 10 or 12 times. And if people would come to town, we would take them because of the buffalo, the baby buffalo. My kids needed, and they like to get in the jail because I hope it's not a sign of things to come, but they did. But then there was another one. Do you remember riding elephants?
You know what?
Like-
You're the second person on the podcast that has said that, and I do not remember that.
I only had one
but
child.
apparently
he
it
was
happened.
2. He was 2 years old. So that was like 20. Well, let's see. He's 19, so 17 years ago, and we rode elephants. That was fun too.
Yeah, I do not remember that, but maybe I was traumatized by it and put it out of my mind.
You might have just sent Janet.
Maybe. That's very likely, actually. Maybe if I need to ask my kids about that, they may remember that. All right, here's a local question that I had to modify for the person in the room. So UNC, Duke, NC State, or Georgia?
So I was ready for this one.
Okay.
Georgia, number 1. But if I had to pick number 2, only because I married into a UNC family, I pull for UNC. I know.
Well, you know, I'm a mixed marriage as well. And Janet went to UNC and I went to NC State. So, but we do have one at NC State. So
The problem I have is I had to go to a North Carolina football game, and I was like, I don't own anything blue. Marsha's like, what? And I was like, I don't own anything blue. Like, I'm going to have to wear black.
well, that's good.
Well, I felt pretty kind of true to my colors and didn't sell myself out.
Well, doesn't everybody that goes to Chapel Hill wear black?
No comment. I got to stay neutral.
I thought you had to be in mourning to go to Chapel Hill. Okay, I wonder how many listeners we just lost with that one.
I just heard them all drop off.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. The 4 listeners that we have for this episode just dropped off. So, what is something very few people know about you?
What people probably don't know is that I go hunting with my children. I have been. Amy
that's
just
terrific.
looked
That's
at me like I was crazy.
I am not surprised at that personally, but
Well, I don't kill things because I'm not going to do that. But I will go sit in a deer stand with them or hog hunt with them. And they have, and for Christmas, and I go duck hunting with them, which I actually do enjoy. But for Christmas, I guess it's been 3 years ago, I got my own set of duck waders, and they were so excited to give them to me.
oh wow,
Yeah. So
well, good for them and good for
most
you.
people don't know that I go do that.
Well, that's outstanding, actually. So good for you
I
and
guess.
good for them.
They're always worried I'm going to be like, run to the animals. So
Is there a recent book or article or blog or podcast or anything that you've heard or read lately that you would recommend?
most people have already read this, but I love Where the Crawdads Sing.
Okay.
But I love Southern fiction. But the other thing that I did and it's a series, and I do not watch TV very often at all, but somehow I got hooked into The Crown this year, sitting at soccer fields waiting on kids to come up, and it was a little slow in the beginning, and then it became like I had a free minute, The Crown was on, and the kids, I could clear a room then too. They're like, this is so boring. I'm like, this is so good.
Actually, I have to admit, yeah, Janet and I both got into that and watched it, and I guess we're anticipating the next season coming out. So, yeah, that's actually pretty good. There's a lot of actually got a lot of good leadership lessons and a lot of things if you really pay attention to that. But it's a good show. Yeah.
It was a great historical lesson history lesson for me. Marsh would come in and be like, "Did you know?" And he's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Watching The Crown. You want to watch it?" He's like, "No, there's a basketball game on." I'm like, "Okay."
Tell him that is Stephen approved.
I love it.
So there's enough in there that, and Janet was good about fact checking some of that stuff.
Oh, I did too. I had my phone fact checking it.
It was most of it was surprisingly accurate. I mean, most shows go off a little bit on maybe some entertainment value here and there, but it was generally pretty accurate, at least
at least
according to
Google. Fairly neutral, and they didn't sway it one way. It was very even and neutral.
So we're going to finish up here with a few more questions, but I appreciate you sharing that. So kind of going back to Gaston's Great, and so besides the Education Foundation, why would you say that Gaston's great?
I think Gaston's a great place to raise a family. We chose to move back here 23 years ago when we got married. We were going to be transferred to Atlanta, and I was like, no, I'm not going to Atlanta. I love it here. We have the museum. We have great places to eat. We have great schools. We live in Belmont. We love the restaurants there. Gastonia our families are here. We've been completely happy here. We love it. I tell my friends in Charlotte, I'm like, you should see where we live. We have yards. We go play outside. I mean, everybody takes care of everybody here, and it's really nice. Yeah,
I would agree. When you don't live here, you just don't realize it, right? Or if you're able to spend some time away,
right,
you get a different perspective about how great our area is. Here's a good question. What do you know now, or what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? Because I know that was only a couple years ago.
It was only a few. I probably would tell myself just to relax a little bit. Don't be so black and white. Life is really great, and if you get worked up about the little things, it's just not worth it.
Boy, my 20-year-old self could have.
I could have used that. I think we all could.
Used that one for sure. So, Amy, this has been really good. Where can listeners go to learn more about the foundation, or get involved, or specific ways to contact you or the foundation specifically?
They can go to www.GastonCountyEducationFoundation.org, or they can call the office at 704-616-5472. I would love to talk to anyone that would want to get involved. We cannot have too many volunteers in the school system. Absolutely, a lot of kids in need in the schools can use the help. However, we do have a great public school system here, and they do a lot of. They work hard and do a lot of good things for kids. Our kids all went through, and we still have one in Gaston County schools, but the other two are they are products of the school system here as well. The other place they can find me is when we go back to the real community run. There's a booth out there, and I love to talk to people at that. Yeah, we've 3 years in a row maybe now between virtual and weather. Oh, that's right. I mean, we tried to float away one year. Yeah, I remember sitting in my car out there that day, and I was sitting out there, and man, it was a special storm that came through that morning. I was under my tent with a bunch of teenagers who were volunteering that I knew, and I was like, "Come get under here, you'll be safe." And then it went with lightning, and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna all go to our cars now." So, anything else? Any closing comments or anything you'd like to share to finish this up? Because this has been a great conversation. I just want to thank y'all for having us, and I am going to give the Are You Smarter a plug because we're doing it on February 10th. Of 2022. Yay! And if anybody's interested, reach out. Well, I'm sure that will be our, quick math, our 30-second episode right before that. I have no idea, but we'll be sure to mention that again as we get closer to that next year. So I appreciate you sharing that. So listen, all to you listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about this, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, and please follow us on all our social media platforms. You can also find us and subscribe on most podcast services such as iTunes, Spotify, and Google. Thanks again to Amy Spencer from the Gaston County Education Foundation for being our guest today. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back
to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.